One of the best ways you can grow your life and your online podcast is to surround yourself with people who are like-minded and can help elevate you to that next level. And if you're looking to figure out how you can surround yourself with a great group of people, well, stick around because at the end of this episode, I'll break down the steps for how you can do that. Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Alec Casson here with Impact Podcaster Academy. If you are looking to not just increase your audience with your podcast, but also increase your income online as well, you are really going to love this show because I'll just be breaking down all the tips that you need to know in order to make more impact and income online without needing to go viral or waste your time trying to get a bunch of sponsors. As you can see, I'm in my car, got hit with some inspiration. I was listening to an episode from Alex Hormozi. He creates some really great content, and he was talking about this whole thing of how as you are growing, you are likely to begin to lose friends on the journey of growth. It's kind of just one of those signs that you are improving, because it's sad, but there's a lot of people in life who would rather just stay the same. They're not looking to take their life. They're not looking to take their career. They're not looking to take their health, their relationships, their mindset, their spirituality, if you will, to that next level, because growth requires change, and change is scary for some people, and it requires effort as well. And naturally, as human beings, we have this inclination to just stay stagnant because it requires less energy. And if we spend less energy, then we have more energy. And it's just it's the reason why we crave things like sugar and carbs, is because it's very calorie dense, it's very energy dense. And we're not cavemen anymore. We have an abundance of not just food, but we have an abundance of information, and we have an abundance of people we can interact with as well. And when we lose friends, it kind of triggers this thing in our brains where we begin to feel a little bit fearful that maybe we are being excluded from the crowd. We're getting kicked out of the tribe. And, back in caveman times, you could even look at animals today. If they're kicked out of the tribe, or if their little group that they're in, they're statistically, they're not likely to survive. So when we feel ostracized, or if we feel excluded from groups or from people, it triggers this fight or flight feeling within us, because subconsciously our brains are thinking oh my gosh, we might not survive if we're kicked out of the group. But the reality is that's just not true. And when we're not conscious of who we're associating with, who we're hanging out with, we will also fall into the ruts that our friend groups are in. Now, obviously, there are people who are very, very successful in life who are surrounding themselves with people who may not be as successful as they are, like Bill Gates or Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. They're pretty top, at top echelon when it comes to their careers and things like that. So they can't really hang out with other people who are doing necessarily better than they are. So in some instances, it's not true. But then again, if you're not Jeff Bezos, if you're not Bill Gates, or if you're not Elon Musk, then, the stuff that I'm sharing in this video is probably very likely to resonate with you. There's a saying that you are the culmination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And with that whole thing that I was mentioning earlier about the fear of being excluded from a group, I think a lot of times what we tend to do is we quickly gravitate to people who we think we could hang out with. Not because they provide any value in our lives, but because we're trying to satisfy, or we're trying to, quench that fear of being alone. That's why there's people who are, as soon as they get out of a relationship, like a romantic one, they jump right into another one. And it's why are you doing that? Why not just wait and develop yourself, grow yourself? And then as you grow, you'll just naturally attract the right person to you. I remember I was in, not to get too deep and personal with my own relationship stuff, but I was in a romantic relationship early on when I was in my freshman year in college. Relationship didn't end up going well. I'll admit, probably more so for my own personal reasons than it was for them. But my friend group at the time, they were also dealing with some relationship issues in their own lives romantically. And as soon as I had become single, I told myself, I'm really going to devote a lot more time growing my relationship with God, but I'm going to really devote a lot more time just growing myself. I call it the Aladdin Approach. I don't really have a title for it, but if you know that movie Aladdin, you got the guy Aladdin who runs around. It's a Disney movie. He runs around and he's like stealing because he's like a robber. He's like a little thief. And then he encounters the queen, or the princess there. That's what it is. The princess of the area that he lives in. And he wasn't able to get closer with her until he kind of elevated his own status. Like, I know, sure, it was like because like he was able to elevate his status because he had a genie and he granted him wishes, but innately he knew, he was like, I can't be with her if I'm not at her level. So if he didn't put himself in a position of being like a prince, he wouldn't have gotten the princess. You know, if he's stuck with being, oh yeah, I'm just going to stay a robber and a thief, he would have probably gotten with a woman who was a robber and a thief as well. So he had to elevate himself in order to then attract the right person to him and in his life. Now, that analogy is very loose, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt, but that's what I went into. Like, that was my perspective moving forward for my own romantic relationships, is that I was not going to commit to being in a relationship. I was going to be more focused on growing myself, developing myself. And it led to actually me being in the relationship that I am in now with my fiance. She's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm continuing to try to improve myself every day because she's just so wonderful. And unfortunately, I have a lot of friends who didn't listen to my advice of what I was trying to do. I told them to. I'm like, hey guys, you know, it looked like they were breaking up in their relationships. I was like, don't try to get into another relationship. Just grow yourself, you know, develop yourself first. They didn't listen. They got so many struggles going on right now. And, you know, it's not for me to say the details for, but I just wanted to like mention that for you. So it's like, if you're on this journey and you're beginning to like lose friends, pardon me, and your friend group is starting to get smaller, I want you to know it's okay. Like, that's part of the journey. Now, obviously, don't ostracize people. Don't turn people off intentionally, but do be intentional with who you're hanging out with. Do be intentional with who you are dating, because all the baggage that they have, it will begin to be part of your journey, and, you know, all that weight will begin to weigh you down as well. And it's phenomenal, the internet, like what it can do in order of getting you connected with people. And one of the best ways I think that you can begin to meet and talk with people is you can do that on the internet. You can find Facebook groups to hang out with. You can be part of different communities online where you can talk with like-minded people. And it's actually one of the main reasons why I had started my own community online called Impact Podcaster Academy. Basically taking the podcast, putting it online where people can meet together and talk in a group on Facebook where we can encourage each other, we can share our own tips and advice, and we can, you know, a rising tide raises all ships. So, you know, we can all help each other grow. And if you're interested in being part of that group, go on facebook.com/groups/Impact Podcaster, Impact Podcaster Academy. And the group will pop up right there, and you can request to join, and then you can join the party online. Because if you're looking for people that can really help elevate you to that next level, I think that I know that this Facebook group will help make that dream turn into a reality, especially if you're a podcaster. So thank you so much for listening. I love, you know, doing these videos for you guys, just telling you things that are going on in my mind. And yeah, I want to know, like, have you had to kind of like distance yourself from certain people as you've been growing? If so, you know, let me know in the comments below. And just to wrap up, I'll kind of share my own story real quick about a friendship that it didn't even naturally fade off. I actually had to intentionally begin kind of like cutting some ties with some people. So before COVID had happened, I had a friend from high school. I was hanging out with him a lot, and it was fun hanging out, but during that time of my life, and especially like during high school where we had met, like early on, I was very much into the whole partying, drinking, smoking type of thing, smoking lots of weed specifically. Didn't really smoke anything else, so don't get that in your head. But yeah, we'd always hang out and smoke weed and stuff, and it was the same thing for the friend group. And I remember like early in high school, I had actually mentioned, I'm like, hey, you guys trying to hang out, go to the movies? They're like, yeah, were you trying to meet up to smoke first? I'm like, well, let's just meet up at the movies. We could smoke at the movies? I'm like, I don't think so. But let's just like, we don't have to smoke. Like, let's do something where we don't have to smoke. They're like, but why? I'm like, oh crap. So that was kind of like the first sign that I began to realize, I'm like, okay, maybe I need to distance myself from these people. But then, we started hanging out on like vacations, and that's like, you can have vacation friends where or like, how there's like party friends where it's like people that you can hang out with at a party and you're having such a great time. But then outside of that, it's like, there's no real substance there. Well, that's what ended up happening. The relationship started to fade, but then we started going on vacations together with like big friend groups. And then the relationship got stronger because it's like you're drinking and you're in like different parts of the world and you're having fun. And, but then COVID had hit and we were hanging out, but we weren't doing the vacations. And then I was taking a break from smoking weed. I really was like, I don't want to smoke weed anymore. And my friend's like, yeah, man, I don't want to smoke weed either. But he kept smoking weed. And it was just like a one-way relationship where, they were just continually talking and telling me things, and they weren't asking anything about me or my life. And, good friendship requires that back and forth exchange. And that just wasn't happening. And one of the things that really kind of like tipped it off for me was when they were like, yeah, bro, so, how are things going for you? What are you working on? And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I'm running ads for a book that I wrote. You're writing a book? And I'm like, write it? No, I wrote. Past tense, it's written. When did you start that? And I was like, oh my gosh, he really has no clue what's going on in my life because he never asked. He was always talking about himself. And then as soon as my fiance and I were getting ready to leave for Arizona, I was thinking, you know what? Let's try to get a big group hangout party thing together. The month that we're moving, I'm going to be very busy. So the month prior, let's try to like actually get together and do something fun. And it was like the entire time he's like ghosting me. He's not texting me back. And then of course, up until the day when we're getting ready to leave, yo, bro, we got to hang out. I'm like, dude, you missed it. You missed your chance. And there was a lot more stuff that happened between then, but I just knew, I was like, I can't keep feeding into this relationship. And the thing that's so crazy is I think there's like maybe examine this in your own life, there may be like one or two people in your life currently where if you were to distance yourself from them, you'd find that 80 to 90% of your stress would actually go away. Like, stress levels have gone down significantly after distancing myself from this person. And not that I don't have any stresses, but like I'm able to focus on like actual, like the things that actually matter. Because when you're bogged down by all these like little things that stress you out, you don't have the mental capacity to really focus on the things that are important, because it's like that thing where it's like you're only as strong as your weakest link. That weak link is just, it's causing you to drop the ball with everything else. So there might be that one person that's causing like 80% of your stress. And if you were to just distance yourself from that person, you'll find that you have a lot more capacity to actually do the things that matter. So thanks so much for listening. I really hope that this is able to inspire you to examine your friends. And if you're looking to be part of a really solid group, I invite you to join the Impact Podcaster Academy Facebook group. It's a really great place. Link's going to be in the description. You can click on it and join us there. Thanks so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group.